Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you find yourself in this weird, wild, wacky world of ours. Welcome to the exciting installment of Darkness in Dublin. This scene takes place in the home of Baron Phobos, the self-anointed Baron of Tala and head of the anarch Free State of Dublin. Spudgun, you find yourself making your way up towards the Baron's domicile, up the marble steps between the columns into the large, imposing black front door. One of the members of the Baron's staff will inform you very politely that the Baron has been expecting you and to please follow him into the library.
And Spudgun will then just silently nod his head before gesturing for the associate, as it were, of the Baron to lead him there.
Wonderful. You walk into the library proper, and inside, the Baron's library also kind of turns and duplicates as his office. So there's a large, imposing desk with the kind of that green felt matting that you often see on old-timey desks on top of it. The Baron is seated in a high-backed chair behind his desk, the mask affixed over his features, the odd red glowing eyes that are shown via the tiny picked screens that are over his eyes glimmer ever so slightly in the dark. Standing next to him will be this individual, who is essentially the reeve of the barony. Her name is Amelia, if you are interested.
Yes, I remember.
She is standing. She has an odd expression on her face. If you'd like to do me a P&E, you can.
Okay, let me double check. Not Spudgun's biggest dice pool, but of course he gets 2 successes.
Something is upsetting her. As in, she's not very happy as she stands there, definitely. Something is unsettling. The only other point of interest is the Baron's desk has 2 chairs in front of it. But as you enter, you'll see that there's a 3rd chair that has been moved and is currently sitting in front of the fire that is crackling away in the hearth.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, Mr. Spudgun, a pleasure. Please come inside.
Thank you kindly. Sorry if I didn't get to you sooner.
Would you care to sit down?
And Spudgun will.
So, what is it you wish to talk to me about?
Well, there's a few things. I'll do the shortest ones first. And he'll present the 3 books that he acquired from the library.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I can tell, this is Book of Change, Book of Death, and History of the Anarch Revolt that I was able to recover from the Chantry.
The Baron stretches out his hand. He takes the Book of Change and he flicks it open. One very long, black-gloved finger kind of moves its way down the page. You're not sure if he can read it or not. It's written in, not only because when you tried to use Google Translate on it, because let's face it, you probably would have, it's not only just written in Latin, it's also written in code. So when you were trying to cryptovize it, you were basically getting horseshoe, milk, puddle, puddle, like really nonsense words that were just kind of meshed together in a sentence. But he closes the book and he'll say, I see. Very interesting. Please continue.
The other thing? Well, I don't know if you've noticed, but I've been deciding to try and become a little bit more civilized by the more cultured kindred's standards. And I had a piece of artwork that I'd like you to, well, if you don't want it, then perhaps you could pawn it off somewhere. And if you'd like, I can actually show you the sort of abstract art that he'd been making.
By all means, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Basically, it looks something kind of like this. If you're familiar with, like, Dadaism or like surrealist art,
Mm-hmm.
the kind of weird shit that those kind of things, it looks kind of similar to that. And personally, I can't remember where I found this picture, and I've no idea what he would probably name this, but probably something like, I don't know, so just like a one-word title, like Nemesis, or like the eternally original Untitled.
I don't know. When I saw that, my first and immediate thought was Mastermind. I think it's because some of the skull is blue, and it just reminds me of like a computer for a skull. I don't know why. Continue on.
Yes, but yeah, the short of it is that Spudgun will like present that form of art.
I'm.
And if it's of any help, when I did do an expression roll for this, surprisingly, I got 5 successes. I can redo the roll if you want.
No, that's fine. Hang on. I will even be fair to you because he is a Toreador. I'll roll to see if he is entranced.
Oh, fucking hell! I thought he was like a low generation cater for some reason.
Nope, he is a Toreador. He is not a very high. For the record, he's not a high generation Toreador, but he is a Toreador. So.
Well, I said low generation, but yeah.
God damn it, Discord! You have one job.
Fucking hell! Is it doing that thing again?
It's doing that thing again.
Fuck's sake.
I have physical dice on beside me. I'm just gonna roll those. Give me a second.
Yeah.
Yep, he manages to pass. So he'll nod his head and he'll say, "Lovely. I thank you for your gift."
Last thing, well, perhaps it might be of. Perhaps I should be blunt. You know about the Tremere that has been causing such a great deal of trouble for Dublin, aye?
I am well aware, yes.
The one whose child apparently is part of the local, well, he's that Russian one, Mikhail. I'll put it bluntly. Their sire took up residence in that chantry, and we just so happened to stumble across it. Our mutual friend, when they opened the gateway from that mirror in the museum to the chantry, they realized that the wards were still present. It's been a while, so perhaps wouldn't have been surprising, but they were stronger than he would have expected. Needless to say, it was a little bit of a surprise when we did find them, but with one notable exception, we managed to keep our cool. And myself, Emily, and excuse me. Myself, Emily, and Tanner were able to escape from there and report back.
I see. The Baron leans back in his chair and he kind of pents his fingers together and he says, "Is that all, Mr. Spudkin?"
As I said, there's one notable exception. Now, you and I, at least compared to most kindred, we're aware that when in confrontation with an elder, especially an elder like that, it's important to present a unified front and to never show weakness, aye?
That is one method, yes.
When presented with this situation. My reasoning is that presenting weakness invites aggression. And when you invite aggression, you put yourself in a position where, at best, you'll be enslaved, or put in a position where it's little more than slavery. Or, at worst, you'll meet your final death. Emily, for whatever reason, despite being the most physically biggest of us all, and I would argue perhaps the most physically capable, they put myself and Tanner and themselves in a position where a creature like this creature, as we encountered, could only have one choice, and that is to proceed aggressively towards us, which eventually left us with a position where they offered to allow us to leave so long as we left Tanner there. And I don't think I need to explain why this situation would leave Tanner. It would leave Tanner in a state where death would be more preferable, aye?
Yes, that would seem likely. Based on what limited information we possess about this individual and his practices.
You can speak to Tanner and you can speak to Emily all you like. From my perspective, the way that I see it, you have to appeal in that situation to your enemy's ego. Make them believe that they have won, that they have all the cards, as it were.
I have a very important question for you, Mr. Spudgen, and I'm going to ask you it.
Go right ahead.
Was it your intention to leave Mr. Tanner to his fate?
Myself and Tanner, well, are you familiar with certain rituals from myself and Tanner's previous affiliation?
I am, to a point.
The two of us are bonded in a way that someone with even my degree of knowledge, my first-hand experience of that knowledge, can't really explain. He was going to get out of there, one way or the other. If I had to do the most underhanded thing possible, I would have done it, and I was going to do it. And yet Emily decided her idea, whatever it might have been, was the better one. And the result was she lost her hand, and very nearly her own life. But alas, we all got out of there nonetheless. I had to smash the fucking mirror to keep the creature from following us, but we got out of there nonetheless. And you can understand, Baron, why recalling this event is a little bit aggravating for me.
Yes, I can quite understand. Hang on. Ow, 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 ow. Sorry, my headphones popped out of my head, but continue. Ultimately, Mr. Spudgen. By the way, were you honest with him that you were going to get Tanner out, etc.? Because I mean, otherwise,
yeah,
you'd have
to. For that point of the scene, my idea was basically to get walk right past Lord Ishar and then stick them in the eye with his. Well, you know that Spudgun's got Serpentis, right?
Yeah.
And well, it was a risk, but I was probably going to do it. Might have died, but you know.
But okay, no. The important question is, your intention was to play it cool until such point as you could get Tanner out. You are not going to leave him. You are not going to abandon him. And that is basically, as I said, you are being honest in that fact.
Yeah.
Cool. That's fine.
Spudgun does have quite a high... Well, both Tanner and Spudgun have quite high Volderies to each other, as I recall. I mean, I don't know what Tanner has to Spudgun, but I know that Spudgun has, like... I'm going to actually go double-check that for you. So I do recall it's quite high. Yep, 8.
Okay. In that case, he will look over at the chair that is absent, or that is sitting by the fire, and he'll say, "You have my answer. The answer is no." At which point, this individual will appear sitting in the chair.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Good afternoon, Mr. Spudgun.
Good afternoon. I'm sorry, I don't recall your name. Mostly because out of character, Jason has forgotten it.
Hennessy.
Hennessy.
Yes. You see, he stands up very, very slowly. Your friend Emily tells a different story, and she came to us with the story.
Mm-hmm.
She claims that you were going to abandon the boy. Not that I care about low-blooded mongrel or thin-blooded mongrels, but. So, Baron, your answer is you will not give me Spudgun. That is my answer. I see. My. You appear to have chosen your friends relatively well, sir.
Well, they do say that blood's thicker than water, aye?
I could reach out and I could take you now. I could probably do so even in this house, despite the fact of who stands there, how many guards they have, etc. But that would be a faux pas on from my point of view. Also, it would be dishonorable after I have accepted a man's hospitality to do violence to someone else beneath their roof. I am not dishonorable. However, needless to say, Mr. Spudgun, from this moment on, for crimes committed, for acts taken, you are to consider yourself via the authority and the dictum of Prince Thrain, Prince of Dublin, all of Dublin, to be under, how would I say this? We, the Camarilla and the Ivory Tower, sentence you to death, your blood to be reclaimed, what it is worth.
Mm-hmm. And?
I will not, as I said, do so here, because that would dishonor me. But I have no doubt that it will occur.
Aye. Such is the way of things, I suppose, but be sure to bring one thing before you take me down.
Oh, and what's that?
A dustpan. Not for me, of course. You're just going to need, well, you're going to need it for all the people that you're going to sacrifice. Am I really worth that much?
I.
After all, you said so yourself. You don't care about low-blooded mongrel.
I don't. However, ultimately, I have a duty to perform. I am merely a servant in this matter.
Aye, aye.
So, in that case, Baron, I am delighted to have been your guest. Mr. Spudgun, I hope that at the very least you shall be a good quarry. A hunt is only interesting when it is the prey has teeth.
Of question is, who's hunting who?
The more I see, the more I like. It's a shame that you could not have chosen the correct side. Or indeed, in the case of Miss Stevenson, chosen your friends better. Good day, Baron. With that, he will turn and he will walk out of the room. You now have a vague idea why it is that the Baron's Reeve was as pissed off looking as she was.
Figured as much.
Well, that was as pleasant as I was expecting.
So, where do we go from here?
This merely accelerates my plans. It does not change them. Ultimately, Mr. Spudgun, when I said the fact that I believe that Dublin should be liberated from the elders who clutch covetous power, like Mr. Hennessy and his Prince Thrain, I was not lying. I am not one of those individuals who sits here and talks of revolution. I am an individual who ignites the revolution. So now it is we will simply make our move, and we will wait for them to respond.
Fair enough.
As for Miss Stevenson, she claims that you are the betrayer, and yet she is the one who plunges in the knife.
Aye. Seems like you can't trust anyone these days.
We are a brotherhood, the Anarchs. We trust one another. This is why, and I will be honest with you, if I believed you had given up Mr. Tanner for dead, I would have let Hennessy take you. Because there is nothing I hate more than a Benedict Arnold. There is nothing worse than a traitor.
I could say the same thing. A traitor can never be trusted.
No. No, they can't. With that in mind, I've had some rooms prepared for you here, at least for the time being. It may be more amenable to you to stay with us in a more localized manner, in case Mr. Hennessy has already let slip his dogs.
I'll make some preparations to, well, if it comes down to a point where you, I, Emily, over here.
Sorry, her name's Amelia.
Amelia, excuse me. Amelia over here are making our last stand. Well, needless to say, I want to say this right now. It was an honor to serve you, Baron.
I have no intention of making a last stand, Mr. Spudgun. Elders think in old ways. We will think in the way that is today. We will simply defeat them with the 21st century. That is my plan, and that is the plan that is shared by my brothers and sisters, who would see us breathe free. Do not think that this is a defeat, or do not even think that this is a setback. This is them throwing down the gauntlet, and we intend to pick it up.
That I like the sound of.
Very well. We will see to any personal effects you might have, and we will get it all stored away and sorted. But soon, needless to say, they will hear the clarion call, and soon, I assure you, Mr. Spudgun, they will come to fear tomorrow.
I like the way that you speak, sir.
And as Mr. Spudgun leaves the office with Amelia to go and collect his belongings, the revolution begins, and we shall end our scene. So thank you, player, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. This has been another Scene in Darkness in Dublin. Have a pleasant evening.